So today I'm going to start down a road that I went down a long time ago. I want to try and share one of my many experiences that I've had. So years ago, I don't know what it was, 8 years ago, probably closer to 8, Hornady released the 224 Valkyrie. Now for me at the time I thought, man, something gives me a little more oomph, reach a little further down range with an AR-15. What's not to love about that? So I went ahead, I bought myself a bolt, bought myself a barrel, basically made myself an AR-15. Okay, so I got it right here. This is a Faxon, I believe it's a 24-inch ultra target barrel with all sorts of guarantees on great accuracy. Got this thing put together, went out and shot it. Didn't matter what I put through it, nothing was really grouping much. And after a couple hundred rounds, trying all sorts of different loads, different bullets, different powders, primers, I was about ready to send this thing back. I was pretty frustrated. I'm like, man, they got a 1 MOA guarantee, and this thing, it struggles to get close to it. I think most of my groups were 1.5 to 2 inches. I tried everything from 60 grainers up to 90 grainers. And then about when I was ready to give up, I tried some 75 grain Hornady ELDMs. And I went out and I did a powder test on it. The first group, bad, real bad. Second group, about what it's been doing with most everything else. The next one, it was actually not too bad of a group. The next one was an amazing group. It was, for an AR, I couldn't ask for more. It was about 3.5 of an inch, about 0.35. I've got a picture of it somewhere. And the group after that, 4 of the 5 were in the same hole. The 5th one was off a little ways. And I settled for that powder. Shot great. Killed lots of coyotes with it. Heck of a good round if you can actually find one that shoots. I heard there's all sorts of problems when they first came out, chamber dimensions and reamers and different gunsmiths, and you know, generally whenever you're dealing with an AR, most of the major brands, they just kick the barrels out. Their quality control's not the best. They don't center the reamer properly. They don't really care. Most people think an AR, I shoot a 2-inch group at 100 yards. That's great. Me, I want all my guns to be under 1 inch. I'd actually prefer them to be closer to 1/2 inch. But a 1/2 inch gun's a hell of a gun. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to recreate that with this gun. I've probably put well over 1,000 rounds through it. The last 300 or 400 rounds I've probably shot through it, they were just some mass-produced ammo I made on this. I had the little bar dispenser for powder. I didn't measure each one, just cycled them through. And I was shooting 1/2 to 3/4 inch groups with it. I still got a bunch of that. Maybe we'll do that as a little bit of a control to the group. It varies once in a while. It might be a little over 1 inch. Sometimes it's 1/2 inch. My brother got a Valkyrie too at one point, because I told him how much I liked this one. And he had some issues. I think it's kind of inherent that Valkyrie has issues, I guess. We ended up having to enlarge his gas port on his barrel just a little bit because it wouldn't cycle right. But it also liked these loads that I made. He found if he seated them 5,000ths deeper, it really seemed to like these loads. But being as he's my brother, we always have a little bit of a sibling rivalry. He decided he was going to work up a load that would shoot better out of his rifle, and now he's asked me to load it up in mine and see how mine likes it. So we're going to do that, but first we're going to go through. I've got a bunch of new brass right now up there in my brass feeder. I'm just going to run them through, make sure they're nice and concentric, uniform, the neck tension. Got a who makes that thing? I got it. Sinclair expander mandrel setup up here. So I'll go through the sizing die, crunch the neck down a little bit. It won't be bumping the shoulders at all. The new brass 10 thousandths back, which is a good amount from what my chamber is. So we'll just run them through to make sure the necks are good, golden, get them concentric. I'll do my brass prep, deburr, deprime, run a bristle in the throat, clean all that up. A bunch of things you guys probably don't care to see, so I'll kind of burn through that. At some point I'll do a video just strictly on brass prep, kind of show you guys what I do, explain why I do what I do, and hopefully not get picked on too much in the comments, because everybody's got a different way to do it. Some ways are better, some ways are worse, but what I do works for me. I'm always open to suggestions though. If I see something I think might work better, I'll give her a try, and if I see the benefits, I'll keep doing it. If I don't see the benefits, I'll revert back to my old ways. So anyways, right now you probably hear my tumbler running in the background. I got a wet tumbler. I'm tumbling some of this old brass. So for all of this, we'll be using Starline brass, 224 Valkyrie Starline brass. I don't even know if they even make it anymore, but at one point I bought 500 rounds of it. Still had 50 to 100 rounds left that I'd never loaded. Heck, I might have even bought 1,000 rounds of it. I don't know. It's been many years. This Valkyrie, still one of my more favorite guns. The best I've done with it, shot about a 4.5 inch group at 600 yards. I wanted to go out further than that, but I didn't have a rail on there and a scope that gave me enough adjustment to actually shoot that far. Yeah, so hopefully we go through this. If it shoots good, maybe I'll get myself a 20 MOA rail, or maybe even more than that. I'm not sure what I'll need, but look into that. Maybe we'll see if we can make this bad boy hit the steel out there at 1,000 yards. But I'll let you guys go for now. I'm going to get hammering on this. Once I get all that done, I might fire it back up just to show the loads I'm putting together, what seating depths I'm going to, and what powder I'm using. But like all things, if you're gonna do something like this at home, make sure you read all the manuals, make sure you're all versed up, because the powder charge I use, I think, is right at max. Maybe it's just a hair over, so I don't recommend doing it. I can't recommend anybody do it. If you feel like you've got your own skill set, you can watch the brass, you can track it, you can do all that. You know, all that's on you. I can just tell you what I do, and don't try this at home. See you in a bit. That wasn't so bad. Maybe I'll share that. Those are the joys of a progressive. You can size your brass so quick. I found the Dillon here, this old 650 I got, it gets that headspace pretty spot on. The only concern most people have is from station to station how consistent it is, but I'm always within half to 1,000ths, and if that's going to matter that much, I guess I'll never make F class, which is okay. I'm not going for F class. I'll go ahead and do some brass prep. You know, after sizing them, I had to get myself a little paper towel. I go through the process here. I like to hit this station, that station, and then run it on the brush. This brush, I need to replace, it's a little big. Yeah, those both a little big. Let me grab the right one here. Here we go. Here I just run one that's the same caliber up in the neck to get any burrs and stuff out. It's a lot more critical after once fired, but these being new don't really need it. Be nice pretty 224 Valkyrie Starline brass. New brass up here always has a little bit of a shoulder. I want to get rid of that shoulder up there by the throat. In order to do that, this stage here is going to have to do a little extra work, but I'll go ahead and get this done. I'll see if I can figure out how to fast forward once I get it started. We'll go from there. Do this a little bit there. Just start the round. This one here. I generally rotate it this way. It gets a little better. And still got a bit of a hang out there. Just a touch left. You gotta be careful not to go too far, push too hard. I've seen some cases really get worked over. Now they're pretty good. I'm not doing the primers because, well, everything there is new. So you get to talking missteps. A little slick there in my hand. Like the other one, I missed a step too. But it's not a critical step in this one. Oh, little OG. That's a good one. Yeah, I might just save the barrel light or battery life, turn that recorder off. This is all pretty boring stuff. I do plan on making a video just dedicated to brass prep on the road. The one part nobody likes was one of the most important steps. If you don't do proper brass prep, nothing else is going to come from there. Okay, so I already went through, ran all the new brass through my sizing die, expander mandrel, chamfered the bird, got all the case prep done here. I just need to put primers in and I can start loading. Now I'm actually only got 49 pieces of once fired brass that I come across. So I'm sizing all that right now. What happened to the 50th? I don't know. You shoot an AR, you're always going to lose a couple, but I'm going to run all these through, get all these sized. After I get that done, then I'll do my brass prep on them. Then we'll seat some primers. Then after that, we'll start coming up with some loads to test. I already know basically what I'll be doing. I'm going to try and recreate a test I did years ago that had some pretty crazy results, both on the initial group, how horrible it was, and how good the last two were. Hopefully it's kind of mirrors itself again, just to show people how little changes can make a big difference, especially when you're shooting a barrel it's not a budget barrel. You know, the Faxon Ultra Match, one of their top barrels. Even then, you know, it's not a Brux, it's not a Bartlin. You know, you start naming those top names, it's nothing like that. But it was a decent barrel, but it was very finicky. Anyways, I'll get to cranking these out. I already started. Got a few of them already sized. Everything's set up, so we'll move through them. You might notice I'm doing everything just like a machine. Same motion, same force. That helps keep the shoulder bump extremely consistent. You know, running through a Sinclair mandrel to get my neck tension consistent and uniform. I saw there the last two kind of got weird. That's because I didn't have one going to the sizing die anymore, so it changed the resistance. But there we go, 49 rounds in no time. So that's why I love the Progressive. I can crank them through, get all those shoulders bumped. You know, I don't use it for precision rifle to go all the way around and size, prime, powder, seat, you know. I'll do that maybe with my 223. I'll crank a bunch out. I've done it with a 224 Valkyrie with the load that we're going to basically work our way to. But I want to show you how I got to that load. Hopefully it still shoots great. I haven't shot my 224 quite a while. Yeah, so anyways, there's that. Now I'm going to do the brass prep. Okay, so I got my 49 pieces of fired brass, previously fired brass. They all have a little bit of an ejector mark on them. The load that I normally shoot is touch on the hot side. Through this deal, I'll tell you guys what powder I use, and I'll also share kind of the increments in jump and powder that I use. I'm not sure if I want to share exactly how much powder I use because, you know, somebody might try and recreate it. Might be a little too hot. I think it's fine for a bolt gun. In an AR, you're going to mess up your brass. Yeah, a lot of these don't even have a mark, but there's a few of them. Kind of like the first one. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of tough. But right around the 4, there's a little bit of a circle from the ejector. Most of them don't have the mark. A few of them do. Oh, see, that's a random deal. Okay, we're down to 48 pieces of brass. I'm trying to use all Starline. Thought I went through there, looked at it. Started with about 65 pieces. Just did a quick once over. So that was a good lucky catch there. Now I want to check each and every one. Thought I did a pretty good job before, but as I've said before, old tire dies don't see things as well. So, yeah, I'll do a little check in here. Just want to make sure it's all Starline. Because I honestly can't say I've ever ran a test where I checked if the Hornady brass, because I got some Hornady brass from some factory loads I bought at one point. Don't know if that Hornady brass will shoot the same or if it's not going to like it, because I've heard, especially with 223, the Starline brass is a little thicker. I remember watching a few reloaders, they went to try their pet loads. They couldn't even get all the powder in. It was all the way up to the mouth of the case or just about coming out. So I don't know if that's the case with the Valkyrie. Never really measured the case volume. I just found a load that I think shoots really well. Sorry, I thought I saw a little mark on that one there. But Yeah, I've got lots of plans down the road, different things to look at, test, recreate a few things that I've experienced in the past. Other than the overcharges where you really get the brass flowing, don't think I want to repeat those. But anyways, get this prepped, and oh, failed to say I already did all the flash holes, so I got to skip that little booger right there. So I'll go ahead and get these done, and we'll be back. Okay, so we'll go ahead and prime all these. I'm using CCI BR4 small rifle primers. I've had good luck with them. They can handle a little more pressure than some of the other ones. I don't like using the 400s. They're definitely a little weak. 450s are okay. There's a few other primers I use, but depends on the caliber, what I'm trying to do. So we'll go ahead and load them up with my trusty little RCBS hand primer. So basically I bought two of these. One of them I keep for large rifle primers, one of them for small rifle. I find these work really good. You can feel those primers seating there. Every time you can feel if the primer pockets are getting loose. It's quick, it's easy. I used to do it up here on the progressive, but you don't have as much feel on there. And every once in a while, it's got the rotary indexer, and one of them will kick a little sideways. I got a few burrs on it. You know, that thing is at least 25 years old, and I'll probably get a new indexer, and it'd probably work great again. But I prefer to do this. I did have some issues once in a while with it not seating them quite deep enough, so I did a few things there to kind of adjust it a little deeper. But ultimately, I'm still messing up too many primers, so this is what I do now, and it just seems to work. I guess I could show up here, but I'm gonna have to reload here in a second, but I figure you guys get the hint. You see what I'm doing, and it's nothing special. Just a quick, easy deal. So I'll go ahead and reload now. So we'll just shake. Get them all facing the right way. There's always one that likes to fall in that hole up there. Make it difficult. Still got one. Oh, now we got one in the hole again. Get him out of there. Yeah, some people don't like to use the cover. They have it, the primers jump and bounce. I find after you do it a bit, it gets a little more forgiving, and you don't have the primer bounce quite so much. So anyways, I'll let you guys go for now, and when we get back, we'll be working on the powder charge. Okay, so what I got here, I got some Hornady 75 grain ELDM matches. I'm going to use those. I also got some Burger 80.5 grain full bore targets. I'll use some of those as well. So what I'll be doing is I'll try and recreate a ladder test I did in the past. I'm going to do five shot groups with the 75 grain ELDMs using CFE223. I'll be doing 0.2 of a grain increment in the powder charge. And then this is all virgin brass. This here's been fired probably at least a couple times. I'll load some up over here as well at the charge that I'd previously had good luck with at a few different seating depths. The other thing I'm going to do is load up some of these 80.5 grainers My brother has a load that shoots really good out of his Valkyrie, and I'll be curious to see how it does in mine. He did say his kind of marks up the brass a little bit, so be curious. Maybe it's a touch over pressure. Maybe it's something with his gun. They're both ARs, so they can cycle kind of hard, kind of be hard on the brass. So I'll be curious to compare the differences. But anyways, I'll go ahead. I'll cut from here. I'll go ahead and get a number of these loaded. So I'll be loading 25 here with the ladder test. And then I'll probably do another 20 anyways, seating depth test. And then this one here, I'll probably do another 10. That way I'll shoot 2 5-shot groups. And I think that'll do it for now. Okay, so here we are. I've got 5 different loads, all of them at 2.26 inch length. That way it feeds in the AR. That's the overall length that'll feed through the magazine reliably. They're 75 grain ELDMs, brand new Starline brass, BR4 primers, and I charge them with CFE223. So I went ahead, loaded these at the base charge, went up 2/10, then 3/10, 2/10, and then 2 more 10s. It's something where I don't really want to share my load data because up around here we start hitting max pressure. I don't want anybody to go on this as gospel. It's just something I did. So you can see maybe little lines on there where I checked the ogive. They're all within about 1/1000th of each other. Well, plus or minus 1,000. So I guess long ones, 2,000ths longer than short ones. I found it interesting with this new brass. Of course, there's no carbon or anything in the neck at all. It's perfectly clean brass. The first couple pressed pretty tight. I could feel a little bit more resistance than I like. I did take a little one shot, spray my bullets down a little bit after the first couple so that they'd seat more consistently. Basically get a little lube on the bullet. I don't know if anybody else really does that, but I've had good luck with getting it to seat. Haven't had any problems with powder or anything going bad. Before I shoot them, I'll wipe them down, make sure there's no oil on the bullets themselves. These ones over here, I basically set all these up off this charge because in the past, I've had good luck with this load. It's just a hair over max, like I said, so I don't recommend anybody else trying it. But I started here. I figured I'd do a little bit of a seating depth test, 2.26, then 2.255, 2.25, 2.245. So I want to check those out, see how they group. They group a little different. Maybe I'll find something it really likes. Maybe it won't like anything. It's been a long time since I shot the gun much, and I'll have to clean it up real good before I take it out. I'll probably load up. Well, actually I don't need to. I've got some old rounds. I'll probably shoot about 10, 15 through it to kind of foul it before we do any of these tests. Make sure it's zeroed, all that fun stuff. But yeah, I'm hoping one of these here is just a tack driver. I know I've been able to shoot down close to 1/4 inch. When I get all done, I'll share the target from the original test that I did, because I've been trying to find a load for quite a while with that thing. I was struggling. I think I bought that barrel in 2019 in the summertime. Started playing with it. I was about ready to send it back to Faxon. It was one of their ultra match barrels. I'd heard overall people were pretty happy with it. Couldn't hardly get it to group close to 1 inch, much less under 1 inch. And then as I went through this test, I started off, I think it was around a 3-inch group, 1.5-ish, around 1 inch, and then between 0.3, 0.4. The same sort of group with this one, except for one. I had a flyer that spread it out to around 1 inch, if I believe. But It says I've loaded a lot of them up. I didn't capture the overall length when I did it. I'm pretty sure I probably did it to max magazine length at the time, but I didn't get too particular with the overall lengths at the time, so that's been lost to history. So hopefully these ones here, we'll go through it, see how it goes. I loaded a bunch up one time on my Progressive, 350, 400 of them. They group fairly good out of my gun, but not as good as the original group. I was using the powder bar on my Dillon. I think it's plus or minus about 1/10 of a grain, but I'm sure a few of them fell outside that range even. Because this is good ball powder. Meter's good out of those bars, but if you don't use the same amount of force, you shake it a little harder, the next one gets a little more powder. Don't shake it quite as hard, doesn't get as much. And when you're resizing, at the time I wasn't using an expander mandrel, so my normal deprimer had the expander ball on it. Some of them would kind of stick a bit, shake a little harder. Yeah, not highly recommended if you're trying to get a precision load. Great for mass producing 223s, pistol ammo, or even just plinking ammo. But if you're going to try and really get the best out of your rifle and really nail the powder loads, you need a good electronic powder measure to run those loads out, go from there. So anyways, I didn't show everybody reloading them. Kind of gets dull and monotonous. Now I'm going to see if I got some Valkyrie one in 140. Gonna load some of these up to my brother's little pet load he'd been working on. Like I said earlier, probably do 10 of them. Yeah, so I'll look for some of that. If I get it, I'll load up about 10 of those to the length that he said worked good in his rifle. Looking forward to seeing how it turns out, because I know his rifle, it tends to like this load pretty good. Granted, he said he had to seed them about 5 thousandths deeper, and that's when it really started grouping. So who knows? We'll try it out. Maybe that Burger 80.5 is the way to go. Until then, I've got a lot of these 75 grainers to burn up, so time to start shooting them. So what we're going to be doing here today is I've got 5 different loads here set up with different charge weights from lightest to heaviest. We'll go through all these, see how they group. It's basically recreating the test I did years ago. It had some surprising results as I moved along. After we do all those, I've got the charge weight that I'd previously settled on set at different seating depths, longest to shortest. So we'll go ahead and start shooting these, see how they group. This is my 224 Valkyrie, by the way. Juggernaut tactical lower. Trying to think, Frontier Arms, I believe is who I got this upper from. I've got a few of them. Some of them don't have the symbol. There's 2 different companies I got them from. This is their tactical model with the dust cover. The little spring, it's never quite happy. I've put it back in where it's supposed to go. It tends to pop off. Got a Faxon barrel, SIG Tango 4 scope, 4x16 power. I've got a drop-in trigger, can't remember the brand name, but the trigger doesn't make the gun, it just makes the gun better. So anyways, I'll get my scope set up here. Earlier I did go to 50-yard range. Had some rounds I verified my zero. I would expect I'm going to be shooting just a little high out there at 100 yards, which is fine. We're shooting for group, not for bullseye. So let's get this party started. Ooh, make sure my garment's set up. Almost failed there. Let's see how she reads. Looks like it's a few inches high. Different bolts than what I zeroed it, so could be part of it. Group's nothing to write home about. But if this test repeats itself, like it was many years ago, these groups should get tighter as we go along, and should be able to shoot a pretty decent group there towards the end. Well, we'll see how this plays out. Who knows, maybe my barrel's shot out and this gun will never shoot again. But those there, 2774 to 2826. Nothing to write home about. We'll do a note session. Oh, bump my camera, make sure we're still. Yeah, we're still looking good. Okay, grouper tour. Actually pretty good group for an AR. Okay, minimum 2795, max 2822. Really didn't change much from last one. Average 2810. You know, most ARs, I'd be happy with that group. But I know this gun is capable of more. Hopefully, as we move along, it does do more. Make sure we're not getting it too hot. No, barely even noticed the temp yet. The great thing about some of these guns, they don't heat too fast. In a perfect world, I'd give her a while to cool down between each string, but a little pressed for time today, so yeah, we'll go through the next one. Just got a little bubble. Let's see here. Yeah, I see the velocity starting to tick up a little bit here. 2857. This is a 3/10 grain jump. The other one was a 2.2 grain. Ooh, I was not happy on the second shot. was an interesting one. I'll have to go back and look at the different speeds. I think I did pick up all the velocities though. And I didn't reset it. I got the room. I'll do one of these things again. It's worked good in the past. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up a little brass here. Shouldn't have any sort of pressure signs yet. I guess one thing to share is all this brass right now, it's first firing, so we're kind of fire forming. Part of it is I wanted to pick up all this brass now because I believe the next two charges start to show a little bit of pressure. Process of picking things up, I picked up some of these 223. This is the load that I had the best luck with years ago, but I can't remember what my seating depth was, so I'm not gonna make any real predictions here. I figure we'll see a great group through one of these. Not sure which, maybe none of them, but we'll test these out. Keep moving along. So far, so good. I forgot to bring up my Johnny reloading bench quip. Don't screw it up. Yeah, I screwed it up a little bit. Still shot a pretty good group there. Not as good as the one when I first did this test, but I was a little worried leading up to it because the previous group wasn't quite tightening up as much as I expected. Looks like it's still a good load. Let's see what we got going on here. Yeah, didn't really catch shots. It is not happy where I put it there. Got the one, 2886. There's another one, 2860. Don't know why we're not picking them up. Sometimes these tubes cause interference. Yeah, well, we'll do something like this. We'll move back a little bit. Now, last final load, this one shot pretty good that previous time as well. Had one flyer on it on that previous test. Let's see how she does this time. This is up another 2/10 of a grain. I did see my speeds on the last one was like 2880. I think for some reason it was like 2950. It's been years since I've really shot this good much. Bear with me here, we'll get this group out of the way, then we'll move on to some seed depth tests. There's a 2907. Open it up. Yeah, two in the same hole somewhere. 2912. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, okay. Maybe not. Doesn't look like it registered the last two shots. They're all a little over 2,900 there. Not a bad group there either. Little stringer left to right, right to left. Yeah, alrighty. Well, I guess for a full disclaimer, it is kind of gusty today. 5 to 10 mile an hour winds right now with gusts up to 15 to 20. I haven't seen too many gusts, but there's been a few come through, so shouldn't shoot any perfect groups today. And we'll go through the seeding depth. What do I got here? Yeah, all these ones were set at 2.26, basically magazine length. Start here would be 2.26, and then we'll drop them off by 5 thousandths each time. So 2.255, 2.25, 2.245. Hopefully we'll get some velocities off of them. I don't know why the chronograph's unhappy today, but it's definitely not wanting to see stuff. Maybe I'll do a little switcheroo this way so we can get her a little closer. Yeah, this gun, when I bought it, had high hopes. Of course, I shouldn't say I bought it. I basically built it. Bought all the pieces, put it all together. And for hundreds of rounds, it shot horrible. And by horrible, I mean the best I could do was a little over an inch. Normally, it was closer to a 2 or 3 inch gun. But it likes the CFE and it likes the 75 grain Hornadies. So, anyways, we'll start our first test. This is basically the second to last row we shot here. They should be very similar at magazine length, and then we'll see what happens as we shorten them. See if they get better, because that's something I never did, and maybe I should have. Yeah, that's disappointing. Should have been closer to that fourth group I shot. Wow. Particular. Yeah, I didn't feel the most steady, but I didn't feel that wobbly. So. Disappointing. Don't know if I want to blame myself or if I did something wrong there. Guess what are the speeds? They're all right at 2,900. Still only picked up 3 of them. Yeah. Try it a little deeper here. Not reading anything, is it? Come on. Getting kind of gusty. Horrible. No good. No bueno. Yeah, I'm thoroughly perplexed. Still got no reading. I'm gonna move it over here. I don't know. Really kind of curious if I screwed something up when I put the charge weights on these ones. They're just not the way I expect. So now we'll do the 25 or 2.250. Of course, I guess one caveat here I didn't say, these ones were previously fired brass. Maybe that's what the problem is. Maybe it just likes it on a new brass. That's all I ever really worked on that load. So it goes to show you why you gotta develop your load again after you fire for it. actually in this time. Well, there's a good group. Speeds are a little less. So they were from 28.55 to 28.95. Average of 28.80. So we lost about 30 feet a second with the fire form cases. I'd have to go back and look. Maybe we'll do some measuring when we get back to the bench. Get back to the bench, we'll see how much this headspace grows. The smaller the chamber with the same amount of powder, the more pressure, more speed. That would make sense. Maybe after I fire it the first time, I need to add another 1 or 2 tenths powder to it to get it back to its happy spot. But definitely seem to like that seating depth a lot more than the other two. Maybe it's just an adjustment on the seating depth. Definitely going to be looking into this a little more as we go through this. Oh, let's see if the sun can tell me anything. I'm really not seeing any pressure signs. The primers are a little flat, but nothing bad. Can't find one. I'll do a little more looking. Got a gentleman setting up a target, so I got a few minutes. Okay. Now we're going to do 2.245. Get a little shorter. See which one of these works best. Go from there. After that, we'll try a couple of my brothers. Well, one of my brothers' loads. These are up to 2900 again. Yeah, dang it. First two are great. Let's see if we can put the last two in the first two holes. That. Well, that's disappointing. 3 of them were happy, 2 of them not. The previous group was the best of those 4. So, yeah, our speeds 28, 82, 21, 12, 29, 02.5, so right over 900. So, to try and give it a fair shake, I loaded up 10 of these loads of my brothers. Figured two 5-shot groups. See how they shoot out of my gun. hopefully they don't shoot a lot better, because I got a whole bunch of these bullets, 75 grainers, that I need to burn up. These are some, they're 80.5 burgers. Well, let's see how they do. Climbed up a little bit higher. 2764. A little slower, but it's moving on everything. Poopy, but they're not. Uh, 2763 to 2800, average 2779. I'm gonna go down a little bit. Just to help I went down. Sometimes I do that backwards. I'm not going to reset the chronograph on this. Let's get all 10 of them, see how they shoot. There's that first group. Maybe there's something wrong with me there, but so far, not the happiest. Left and right, some of that could be the wind. The wind is kind of gusting a little left to right up there, so let's see how this goes. That's not a bad group for that one. The first one, they got one or two of the flyers. One thing I will say is, when you're hitting 2 to 3 inches high, the slightest cant to your gun can really affect your group. 100 yards, you're actually putting them all in that knot. You rotate it, it's going to make very little impact. But the further away from that center point, the more impact there'll be. So anyways, finish that out. That was 27.64 roughly was the slowest. 28.13 highest, average 27.87 for those 10 shots. So not bad. And then just for fun, came across some previously loaded previously loaded 75 grainers I mass produced off my Dillon, just out of curiosity. Be curious how 5 of them shoot. Yeah, that brush is showing just a little bit of wear and tear. Let's just go through some of the stock that I had at the house that reloaded off the Progressive a few years ago. See how it shoots compared to these other ones. Compare velocities, compare group. There we go. Down just a little bit more. $28.66. Looked like it was a pretty good group. The last one kind of opened it up. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Scope's not the best for clarity, but looks like 4 of them on the right and 1 lower left. But we'll see when we gather them up. Well, I gotta say it was kind of an interesting day at the range. Went out there yesterday, tried out a bunch of those loads, and some of it went kind of as I expected. On the loads I was testing, I was basically recreating a test I did years ago with CFE223 and the 75 grain Hornadies. The test I'd previously done, the first group was the worst. As I went along, they got better. All the way up to the second to last one, the 26.8 grains. That's where it shoots the best. And then at 27, still shot a really good group with 1 flyer. I'll go ahead and post that up here, kind of let you guys look at it. But when you see that upper left was, well, pretty bad. Lower left got a bit better. Upper right, even better. Lower right, all pretty much the same hole. And then there in the center was a 27 grains, the last one. And it was pretty good except for the 1 flyer. So that is the original test I did with virgin brass, with the Starline brass. And after that I had 500 rounds or so of virgin brass. So I just kind of loaded it that way, knowing at some point I might have to recalibrate the load once I get through all that new brass. Now I'm getting really close to that point. So that's part of what this was about, just to validate that previous test to show that 26.8 was kind of the happy spot for the charge weight. It still appears that's the case. This group is slightly larger than we just shot, is about just over a 0.4, 0.41. You know, pretty respectable group out of an AR. It's consistently throughout the years grouped under a 1/2 inch with a nice brass, and all the powder charge is hand metered. When I mass produced it on the 650, the group screwed just a little bit just because the powder charge wasn't quite as consistent, but it still shot really good for what I needed it to do. So we did this one here. That first row, we went through it, and originally I wasn't going to share the powder charges because they get up on the high side, but I started at 26 grains of CFE, then I went to 26.2, 26.5, 26.8, and then 27. Normally I don't do 2/10 and then 3/10 and then 3/10 again, then 2/10. At the time it was just how many groups I wanted to go shoot, and I wanted to try and cover from 26 to 27 as best I could. So yeah, the surprise for me yesterday was I was expecting on that seating depth test to see something just as good or better, but one thing I do know is my brass grows roughly 10 thousandths when I fire it from the factory Starline brass to once fired. It's a good 10 thousandths in growth, maybe even just a little more, probably closer to 12. So with that change in case capacity, powder charge for the volume is going to be off just a little bit. So I think moving forward, I'll probably do some testing where I add just a little bit more powder to it, also take a little powder out, kind of jump maybe 3/4 plus or minus from that 26.8, see if we find a happy spot. And then if we do, I'll probably play a little more with seating depth. On the seating depth side, it looked like that 2.25, that shot the best. You know, one thing I do look at sometimes is, hey, 4 out of 5 were in the same hole and one was off a little bit. So now the question is why was that one off? Is it a anomaly? Did I have something wrong with the brass? Did I mess something up when I did my charge? Maybe my powder was off just a little bit. Maybe my seating depth was a little off. Maybe it was just me pulling the trigger. Or maybe it's just a load that normally only 2 out of those 5 will group really good. So sometimes you got to go out there and shoot the same load numerous times to really get a good statistical basis on how good the load shoots. So we are definitely not done with the Valkyrie. I don't think I'm done with my brother's load. It was just a touch on the hot side. The brass on the ejector, or no, it was on the extractor. The brass was getting a little roughed up there. So I'll have to maybe break out a little emery cloth or a little file, clean that up just a little bit. That way I get a good shoulder bump again. It didn't ruin the brass, but it definitely added a challenge to the reloading side. Yeah, otherwise, yeah, 26.8, it shot the best group of the day. The seating depth at 2.25 at 26.8 on brass that had been fire formed. That one shot the best. So when I do my little tweaking, I'll probably leave it at 2.25 for the overall length and go up or down, 3/10. See if we can get one that can group down 0.3, 0.4 range. Yeah, that'll be great. And one thing I wanted to point out with ARs, the junction between the upper and the lower. So I've got an AR-10 here and 22 Creed, but this joint connection, mating surface, whatever you want to call it, that's got to be tight. You see here, this one does not move. Of course, this is more Juggernaut Tactical, more Frontier Armory, or the other company that makes the same ones. Little side chargers. I love these side chargers. Much better than having to reach underneath your scope and grab things. But you want this fit just as tight as possible. You know, you can look at it and say, hey, I was looking through my scope. My crosshairs were dead on when I pulled the trigger. But when you pull the trigger, you've got things moving in here that's going to cause the upper and the lower to move a little. And that hammer might come up and actually move that upper just a little bit off target by the time it goes bang. So make sure you tighten those up. These Juggernauts, they've got a set screw that goes up in here. Actually, it goes vertical here for your lug that comes down. You can snug that up. But this upper and lower here that I had Cerakoted from them, and some of the other ones, they were actually so tight I had to do a little cleanup on them just to get them to where I could get the pins pushed in. So one little accurizer tip there for the ARs: make sure that upper and that lower is tight, there's no movement. Yeah, otherwise that's about all I got. I'll look and see what else we might do down the road between the Valkyrie, got the Dasher, got some 22 Creedmoors. You know, got lots of different guns to play with. Maybe do some pistol content at some point. But for now, I wanted to get this Valkyrie dialed in. I want to get back to doing a little more with the 6 Dasher. I want to go through the series, maybe do some shooting at long range. But for now, get down there below, hit that like and subscribe, and I'll keep working on getting some content out there. Until then, go out, throw some lead, and have some fun.